So there are a couple of other tools that are in the sculpt mode, and part of why the sculpt has so many more tools is because it is much more 3D. The paint is kind of, it's a 2D that you spread over a 3D surface if you want to.
Like you said, it has like a specific application.
Very specific, yeah. So the other tools that we can look at here is Looseness. At first, you won't see anything happen, and that is because you need to go into the Edit Shape, which is the shortcut of L1 and square, and then you need to tell it how much to loosen. So if we loosen it all up, you can see it happening in there, and then there's a soft blend on the looseness, and your same options of having a whole and different sections.
Right. Yeah. So we've created our looseness.
We've created some looseness.
We've selected an area to be loosened.
You don't have to do it just like a stamp. You can do it like a brush, and you can like move over the whole thing like that. And I'm gonna undo that because we want to be able to see more of that for our next thing that we do.
Cool.
Something that I actually didn't mention when I was doing the cutaways. I'm gonna jump back for just a minute and go to doing a cutaway with the stamp shape.
Right.
I'm going to go in here and take down the blend amount and the looseness a little bit to make it easier to see.
Mm-hmm.
The cutaway now has the same color that I last selected for the spray paint, and you can go and you can change that up here, and you can have your color, your cutaway color, be anything you want, but you can cut away with a color that's different. So you're cutting and painting the surface, and then if you increase the looseness, it spreads that color at the same time. So that's just something to know about cutaways. The next thing to look at is the crop tool. And the crop tool does just that. It crops your sculpture, and I got a little bit off center with my camera here. So I'm not actually overlapping, but so I'm just having a little bit of trouble lining it up. I think, because I have my blend amount is turned up too high. So let's turn the blend amount down, and oops, still having trouble lining up. There we go. So now I made my shape really big, and then I kind of lost track of it.
Got it.
So let's go into the shape edit mode. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. So the area that's bright is what it's going to be cropped down to, and everything that's faded out would be cut out. You have a blend amount, so you can do that, blend it or increase it and change the blending. You have looseness on the edge of your crop, and also because I still have that blue selected, where it's cropping is turning blue. So if I stamp that down, now it's been cropped, and I'm going to exit out of here. I'm just going to show something interesting that you might not realize right off the bat. If I take this and I clone it, and I go up here, and I have now a clone of this, and I scope into it, and I drop my paintbrush, which puts me back just to the move tool.
All right.
I'm going to close the menu so we can see a little better. Sometimes in beta it's a little hard to grab negative shapes, and the crop tool is a negative shape, but if we move to the right position, we should be able to actually grab that cropping tool, which now of course I'm having some trouble doing.
Yeah, that's a ghost, would be. That's exciting.
There it is.
Yep.
If I delete it,
look at that. And
everything is still there.
Item.
This is the cloned item.
It remembers that crop.
The crop is just another negative shape.
Okay.
It's not the same as actually cutting away and deleting something.
All right.
So it's just a negative shape. I'm going to get rid of this clone.
Okay, got it.
So this is actually, I'm going to back up and keep this here.
All of the negative space and the crop.
Well, it did. It's an exact duplicate of everything that's in the original.
It's a very specific clone.
The crop is a negative shape. It's not the same as cutting something away. You're introducing a shape that is negative. That's a different thing. And I'll actually use this one where I took out the cropping to show the next thing. I'm going to scope back in, and the last tool that we're going to look at here just quickly is the Cutout tool. Now this is really interesting because I'm going to make this shape a little smaller. And I'm going to just move the camera around here. I'm using the grab cam feature to move the camera around a little bit. So here's the cutout. I'm cutting this out. I'm just going to hit X or R2 to stamp. I've made a cutout. Now now I see this has been sort of removed and these pieces are still highlighted.
Yeah.
So now I've turned one sculpture into two pieces. I'm going to scope back out, and now this piece is separate and that's separate. And it's kind of a sloppy cut, and you can see I've got that little jaggy bit that wouldn't be great in an actual level, but this is just a demonstration. If I go into this now, it's actually a separate independent piece. It doesn't have any of this information in it anymore. So that's different from the crop tool. It's not still retaining all of that original stuff. But if I grab this piece of a shape here and I drag it away, see the cutout is acting like a crop still, so I'm moving this piece in and out of my cutout area. So the cutout is also kind of a crop, and if I rotate it around, it still is confined within this square. And that's my smeared shape from earlier.
Yeah.